Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudhirayet nashtaprayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavatyottama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtaki krishnaya vasudevaya devaki nandanaya cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna. So we are Prabhupada Ki Jai. So we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 15. The glories of descendants of King Priyavrata. So text 1 we will read today. Of course, it is in the prose form. So I'll just read and we will go through word to word meaning and the translation purport. I'm reading the chapter introduction also. Summary is there? Summary in here? Summary is there? Or you can give plug. Connection? HDMI. Chapter summary. So basically, in this chapter, all the descendants of King Priyavrata is spoken, but one or two kings were glorified for their devotion, for their ruling the kingdom. The power of ruling. In this chapter, the descendants of Bharat Maharaj and many other kings are described. The son of Maharaj Bharat was named Sumati. He followed the path of liberation given by Rishabdev. Rishabdev was his grandfather. Afterwards. Some people mistakenly thought Sumati to be direct incarnation of Lord Buddha. The son of Sumati was Devatajit and his son was Devadyumna. And Devadumna's son was Parameshti and his son was Pratiha. Pratiha was a very great devotee of Lord Vishnu and he had three sons named Pratiharta, Prasota, Prastota and Udgata. Pratiharta had two sons, Aja and Bhuma, and the son of Bhuma was Udgita, and the son of Udgita was Prastava. The son of Prastava was Vibhu, and the son of Vibhu was Prutusena, whose son was Nakta, and the wife of Nakta, Druti, gave birth to Gaya, who was a very famous and saintly king. Actually, King Gaya was a partial incarnation of Lord Vishnu, and because of his great devotion to Lord Vishnu, he received the title Mahapurusha. King Gaya had sons named Chitraradha, Sumati, and Avarodhana. The son of Chitraradha was the emperor Samrat, and his son was Marichi, whose son was Bindu. Bindu's son was Madhu, and Madhu's son was Viravrata. Viravrata's two sons were Mantu and Pramantu, and the son of Mantu was Bhavana. And the son of Bhavana was Tvashta, and the son of Tvashta was Viraja, who glorified the whole dynasty. Viraja had 100 sons and one daughter, and of these the son named Shratajit became very famous. So this is like a just summary, most of the names only, but because they are connected to glorious dynasties, and especially they are himself partial incarnation, partial incarnation of Vishnu. So reading about them, hearing their names itself is very much purifying. That's why Sukadeva Goswami is glorifying their dynasty. So text 1 we will see. I will just read. Shri Shuko Vacha Bharatasya Atmaja Sumatir Namabhito Yam Uha Vava Kechat Pakandina Rishabha Padavim Anuvartamanam Chana Cha Anarya Aveda Samanmatam Devatam Swa Manishaya Papiyasya Kalau Kalpayishyanti. So what word meaning? Shri Shukovacha. Shri Shukadeva Goswami continued to speak. Bharatasya, of Bharat Maharaj, Atmajaha, the son, Sumati Nama Abhiyataha, named Sumati, Yam, unto whom, Uha Vava, indeed, Kechit, some, Pakandinaha, Atis, men without Vedic knowledge, Rishabha Padavim, the path of King Rishabdev, Anuvartamanam, following, Cha, and Anaryaha, not belonging to the Aryans who strictly follow the Vedic principles. Aveda Saman Matam, not enumerated in the Vedas. Devatam, to be Lord Buddha or a similar Buddhist deity. Swamanishaya, by their own mental speculation. Papiyasya, most sinful. Kalau, in this age of Kali. Kalpaishyanti, will imagine. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Srila Sukadeva Goswami continued. The son of Maharaj Bharat, known as Sumati, followed the path of Rishabdev, but some unscrupulous people imagined him to be Lord Buddha himself. These people, who were actually atheistic and of bad character, took up the Vedic principles in an imaginary, infamous way to support their activities. Thus, these sinful people accepted Sumati as Lord Rishabdev, as Buddhadev, and propagated the theory that everyone should follow the principles of Sumati. In this way, they were carried away by mental concoction. Purport. Those who are Aryans strictly follow the Vedic principles, but in this age of Kali, a community has sprung up known as the Arya Samaj, which is ignorant of import of the Vedas in the Parampara system. Their leaders decry all bona fide acharyas and they pose themselves as the real followers of Vedic principles. These acharyas who do not follow the Vedic principles are presently known as the Arya Samajas or the Jains. Not only do they not follow the Vedic principles, but they have no relationship with Lord Buddha. Imitating the behavior of Sumati, they claim to be descendants of Rishabdev. Those who are Vaishnavas carefully avoid their company because they are ignorant of the path of the Vedas. In Bhagavad Gita 15:15, Krishna says, Vedaisha sarvair ahameva vedyaha. The real purpose of the Vedas is to understand me. This is the injunction of all Vedic literatures. One who does not know the greatness of Lord Krishna cannot be accepted as Aryan. Lord Buddha, an incarnation of Lord Krishna, adopted a particular means to propagate the philosophy of Bhagavad Dharma. He preached almost exclusively among atheists. Atheists do not want any God, and Lord Buddha therefore said that there is no God, but he adopted the means to instruct his followers for their benefit. Therefore, he preached in a duplicitous way, saying that there is no God, Nonetheless, he himself was an incarnation of God. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupah Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guroh Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Vishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gauratvishe Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Taptakanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So we are reading from Canto 5, Chapter 15. So till now we have seen the wonderful topics of Bharat Maharaj, the summary also. Yesterday Prabhuji was explaining the Falashruti was also explained in the last verse. How by hearing about Bharat Maharaj everything becomes auspicious both in this world and beyond. So in this chapter he continues further on the topic of the descendants of Priyavrata. Of course the dynasty starts with Priyavrata Maharaj and continues Rishabdev, and Rishabdev the eldest son Bharat Maharaj, his story was described and continues. The dynasty is continuing now. The whole chapter, as we read, the whole chapter is discussing the dynasty, the personalities who came in the dynasty. So as we are discussing that just by hearing the personalities, great souls, we are purified by remembering them. Esham samsmaranat pumsam sadyo shuddhanti vaigraha. So Esham samsmaranat, just by remembering them, or Parikshit Maharaj is saying when Sukadeva Goswami appears on the scene, he was saying that just by remembering great personalities, sadyo shuddhanti vaigraha, our homes becomes purified immediately. What to speak of giving them asan, respect, water to wash their feet. Kim punna darshana sparsha pada sauchasana dibi. What to speak of touching them and hearing from them and all. So just by remembering great personalities, we become purified. We become purified internally, externally also. So that's how reading about these great personalities coming in dynasty, though it appears to be last year, reading our son, this son, that son, this son, right? No? Very boring and not intellectually titillating. But that's how the power of remembrance is glorified in scriptures. So here especially the Sumati, one son of Bharat Maharaj, Sumati, is especially mentioned about him here. How Sumati was the son of Bharat Maharaj, but he followed the path of Rishabdev, grandfather. So just like as we read that Bharat Maharaj in his engage, he left the whole kingdom and went to forest, and everything was described what happened in the forest. The whole chapters, 3-4 chapters explain what happened in the forest. He became deer, and again he became a Jada Bharat in a different place. So that was described, and again coming back to his palace. In palace, he had his sons, Bharat Maharaj. So the Sumati was explained here. He was following his grandfather, Rishabdev. The teachings were because... So Bharat Maharaj also following the teachings of Rishabdev, what father was taught, what father taught him. So because the grandsons, they also learned many things from the Bharat Maharaj, and he was following Rishabdev, but unfortunately, Jai Shri Shri Radha Madhur Mohan Dev ki Jai, Shri Shri Gauranitai Bhagavan ki Jai, Shri Shri Jagannath Baldev Sura Maharani ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. So here Sumati was following Rishabdev. We know Rishabdev, he became like a madman, and he was roaming around in forest. So all his activities were completely Avadhuta platform. So similarly, Sumati was following that Rishabdev's teachings and activities. But unfortunately, some people in the age of Kali, some unscrupulous people imagine him to be Lord Buddha himself. So they imagined the Sumati in a different way. And these people, because of their own bad character and atheistic character, because they want to support, if anything anyone wants to do, they want to support, they quote something else. Even if they want to do some wrong thing, they may quote some authorities and follow it. Like Charvak philosophy. People just eat, drink and be merry, and they quote Charvak philosophy. Runam krutva grutam pivet yavat jivet sukham jivet. Yeah, so everybody has their own philosophy. If you ask anyone, they have their own philosophy of life. So that's so everyone has some kind of authority. So that makes more authentic, na? They want to follow someone. So here also people who want to follow their own bad character and atheistic character, they interpret the Vedic principles in an imaginary way, infamous way, to support their activities. We also have some authority. We are also following someone. So this imagination leading to interpretation in an infamous way. So we also need to be very careful. Basically, it's a negative injunction for us that we need to follow authority properly, not imagine. We will see shortly how even in our Iskcon, how some great personalities imagined something, interpreted some way, and then it became a propagation, and how Prabhupada took the action. We will see that one, but trying to see how these people are sinful people, accept Sumati as Lord Buddhadev and propagated the theory that everyone should follow principles of Sumati. So Sumati was following nicely, in a very authentic way, Rishabdev, whatever he taught. But these people imagine something about Sumati and not following the Vedas properly. They have their own ideas to support their own irregular activities, irreligious activities. So that's how they imagined something, they interpreted something, and they are propagating something. So Prabhupada is, as we read the purport, he was defining initially who are these Anaryans in the name of Aryans. Prabhupada very pointing out these members who are not following the Vedas and Parampara systems. So these people, as the imagination, interpretation, propagation, IIP. So we need to be careful about how we need to follow the proper Parampara system. We should not imagine on our own, and we should not interpret on our own, but we should, and further it should not propagate it also. So rejecting the teacher while quoting the textbook is not education. It's an arrogance. Right? No? So we imagine our own concoctions about whatever we read in our books. So it's not education. So quoting the textbook, they are quoting Vedas in a different way, in a negative way or in opposite way, whatever suiting to my own concoctions. So any example, what do you remember from scripture or from modern society? Hiranyakashipu, yeah. Ravana and Hiranyakashipu. Hiranyakashipu was, if you read Hiranyakashipu and Ravana and even Kamsa, their teachings, they exactly match the Vedic scripture. In fact, if you don't quote Kamsa or Hiranyakashipu, it appears to be Krishna is speaking in Bhagavad Gita, how you are not the body or the soul, this and that, how life is temporary, one should be following the, one should not bother about any other activities in terms of negative activities, one should follow karma. So that was he was teaching to his relatives and all, but again, he himself decried the authority of Supreme Lord himself. So they are not following their own teachings. So that is the nature of arrogance. They imagine something, they interpret something, they propagate something. So Prabhupada is quoting those kind of people, ignorant of import of the Vedas. They decry the acharyas, pose them as real followers of Vedic principles. They themselves are the authorities. So that's Prabhupada mentioning. And how we should be careful. What should be a devotee's approach towards Anaryans? So we should be very careful, avoid their company because they are ignorant of the path of the Vedas. One who does not know the greatness of Lord Krishna cannot be accepted as an Aryan. So we should not hear, as Prabhupada always mentions, Vaishnavo Mukot Girinam Putam Harikatamritam. So we should not hear about them because it's like a milk touched by the serpent. It's poisonous for our service attitude. Basically, our service attitude will be spoiled by hearing about them, hearing from them. So we should be very careful. That's what Prabhupada is warning in this purport. So of course, but at the same time, we understand Lord Buddha's position. Definitely we understand how Lord Buddha is a bona fide incarnation of Lord Krishna. But though he adopted a particular method, but his strategy, this is only strategy. So that strategy is not philosophy. The teacher may use certain strategies, but it may not be philosophy directly. So Buddha adopted a particular strategy that denied existence of God, or he didn't mention about anything about, put aside. When people asked about God, keep God aside, put Vedas aside. He just mentioned that only. He didn't say they are false or they are whatever. No, right now just forget about it. So because he saw that we also glorify in Dashavatar Stotra, Pashughatam, he was very much compassionate, seeing all the innocent animals being sacrificed in the name of scriptures. So he became compassionate and told, first you keep aside your scriptures, first follow ahimsa paramo dharma. So that's what he was propagating, at least to bring to certain level, to higher understanding of the Vedas. So but people are misunderstood, people take in a wrong way. So he adopted particular philosophy, particular strategy, but that is not his philosophy. He himself mentioned as that he himself was an incarnation of God, as Prabhupada mentioning. In that way, he said that you follow me, by following him, they will be purified later on. Slowly they become purified and they can take up the higher aspects. So that's what mainly this purport is establishing, how we need to be careful, especially in Kali Yuga, in India especially. We have so many incarnation gurus. Every day is sprouting in every street. There is the incarnation of God, right? So as here, the people, unscrupulous people, are taking Sumati as the as the incarnation of Rishabdev or himself as God and following him in a wrong way. So that we need to be very careful. So here a summary of this verse is how they are imagining something. I think, I imagine something on my own, with my own fertile brain, imagination, interpretation, bending scripture to suit our own desires. And they are propagating, spreading it as dharma. This is the only thing. So in modern day, modern education also, they think they imagine something, then interpret it in their own way and propagate it as a philosophy. It's a life philosophy. So imagined Sumati as Buddha, interpreted Vedic principles as infamously, and propagated everyone should follow this. So when one's imagination becomes authority, deviation becomes religion. Right? No? So one's own imagination becomes authority. A deviation is a... So one is called innovation. So innovation, we have to see whether innovation, whether it leads to deviation. Innovation should not be leads to deviation. I have my own innovative way of preaching or innovative of understanding. Definitely it can be there. Prabhupada had many innovations, or innovations in the sense of for preaching purposes. He adjusted many principles. But that innovation has to suit to the principles of Vedic religion, Vedas and the Parampara, and the result also should not be deviation. So innovation and deviation, we have to be very careful. So innovation should not to lead to deviation. So many Prabhupada introduced, but finally it follows the Vedic principles, just like Brahmacharya ashram, or what all principles adjusted, Prabhupada adjusted? Temples, how a temple should be. Right, in India, a temple means this way, the Shastra, Vastu Shastra, so many things are there for a temple. But when he established temples in Western countries, what was the temple? Storefront was a temple. There is no dome, there is no Dvajastambha, there is nothing. In fact, in San Francisco, there is a culture called funeral parlor. Just like beauty parlor we have, beauty parlors are famous. And funeral parlors are famous in Western countries. After a death of a person, they beautify the body, cutting and opening all the, stuffing the body with so many things and decorate the body so that final darshan, they have final darshans will be, wonderful darshan will have, they have final darshan. They have funeral parlors. So that was given to San Francisco temple one time. So it was like a bloody mess. What to speak of funeral parlor means is like just like a smashan, right? We don't even go to, once after going to smashan, we come and take bath with clothes. That is the injunction. If you go to smashan, come and take bath with clothes. That much contamination is considered. Even there is no question of removing clothes. With clothes only you have to take bath. So but Prabhupada, on the order of Prabhupada, they cleaned for months, and it was made as a temple. So deities are established and welcomed and made a temple. So innovation we need to be seen in a proper light. And finally it should not result in deviation. So one's imagination, Prabhupada is not just imagining and interpreting, but he is taking innovative steps into propagate the mission in the right way. So that only a great personalities can do it and can adjust some principles, at the same time follow the parampara system. And the result will be more and more propagation of the movement or the establishing dharma itself. People will be transformed. We can see phalena parichayate. By seeing the results we can understand whether the innovation is actually bona fide or it's only a deviation. So one should be very careful in imagining things. Okay. So unfortunately, This happened in our society also in 1970s. We'll come to this. That's that kind of episode. What happened in 1970s? People imagined something, interpreted in some way, and propagated also in a wrong way, which caused some kind of disturbance and distraction in society. So this is happened in 1970. We'll just read that one. Soon after their arrival in Japan, Prabhupada's secretary received a disturbing call from a devotee attending the society-wide Janmashtami celebration at New Vrindavan. 4 of the newly initiated sannyasis had arrived, the devotee said, and were teaching a strange philosophy. Devotees were confused. Prabhupada had left America. The sannyasis were saying, because he had rejected his disciples. The sannyasis were blaming themselves and other disciples for not realizing that Prabhupada was actually Krishna. So this is, they imagined something, right? They kind of, some kind of inspiration came in their fertile brains. So, and they thought, this is the actual philosophy. Prabhupada was actually Krishna. Prabhupada is God. And we forgot and we neglected him. We disrespected him for so long. So that's what they are propagating, this kind of imagination. Their interpretation, they are also interpreting in a wrong way. They imagine first and they are interpreting in wrong way, and they are propagating also here. When Prabhupada heard this, he said, that is why I did not go. I knew this would happen. This is impersonalism. He defined the Mayavad impersonal misconception of Guru and Krishna. If one says that Guru is God, or if the Guru himself says that he is God, that is Mayavad philosophy. Can you imagine if someone says, Prabhu, you are like you are exactly looking or following like your spiritual master. How we feel, na? You are like if one says, Prabhu, you are dancing like Mahaprabhu, then how you feel? If one says, someone says, Hare, you are like a Krishna only, how one feels so, their false ego is bubbling up, right? Na? If one says that, if one actually says, you are God, then if the person is not rightly situated, then he feels like as if he is only God. In India, in Andhra, so many personalities. And when the followers are glorifying them, the Guru or the person who has God, they are feeling themselves as God. So it's so much fanning the false ego, so much worshipping the false ego. But Prabhupada was what he was saying. Prabhupada also is God. When if at all, if Prabhupada is not in considering, not at all. I mean, of course, it's not. He doesn't. But still, just like in India, people themselves claim. What to speak of their followers? Themselves they claim, I am God. If followers are glorifying, worshipping, how they feel themselves? They are, in fact, continue, glorify more and more. Aniyor, they say. So, but Prabhupada, he is, because he is rightly situated, he is a bona fide spiritual master. So, he is teaching the disciples how actual spiritual teachings are. So, he himself not at all agreeing to the fact that he should be accepted as God, as Krishna. So this shows how Prabhupada is so bona fide and so true to the following teachings. So the devotees began to understand how the offenses of minimizing Srila Prabhupada's position were products of Mayavad philosophy. So now they are trying to... So Prabhupada formed a GBC and they said to GBC, you try to read my books and try to understand an actual philosophy and understand difference between Mayavad philosophy and Vaishnava philosophy. So then I began to understand the position of Guru and the Krishna. For Mayavadi, to increase the devotion to Guru is unnecessary. So this is about Mayavad philosophy Prabhupada is teaching. If individual relationships are ultimately illusion, why increase the illusion? Right, no? If master-servant relationship is ultimately illusion, then the less the disciple sees his Guru as master and himself as the servant, the more he is advancing. So the Mayavada philosophy was a subtle and insidious poison. So these are all Mayavadis, how they deal, how they think, how they treat also the Guru, etc. So Prabhupada is trying to teach them and try to educate them more and more. So of course Prabhupada was in a different place, that was a different point. But so the Janmashtami Vyasa Puja festival in New Vrindavan had become a nightmare. Hundreds of devotees had converged there from East Coast with many others from California and even Europe. They had come for a blissful festival, but instead had found Prabhupada's newly initiated sannyasis expounding a devastating philosophy. The sannyasis, speaking informally to groups here and there, would explain how the devotees had offended Prabhupada and how he had subsequently withdrawn his mercy. The sannyasis revealed their special insights that Prabhupada was actually God and that none of his disciples had recognized him as such, and that all of them, therefore, beginning with the sannyasis, were guilty of minimizing his position. And that was why Prabhupada had left for India. He had withdrawn his mercy from his disciples. So this they were imagining. So Prabhupada already planned to go to India and preach, but they are imagining something, interpreting in wrong way and propagating also. Although Prabhupada had given his disciples 3 volumes of Srimad Bhagavatam as well as Bhagavad Gita as it is, the nectar of devotion teachings of Lord Chaitanya and other literature, none of the devotees were well versed in them. So they are about ignorant. The followers also, and those who are some of the followers, and especially the sannyasis. Many devotees wondered if the philosophy the sannyasis were preaching was correct, but none of them knew enough of the scriptures to immediately refute it. The devotees turned to the new GPC men, Prabhupada's appointed leaders and guardians of Iskcon. The GPC, along with other senior devotees, began carefully searching through Prabhupada's books to ascertain exactly what he had said about the position of spiritual master. So that's how, again, establishing on the basis of scriptures, Shastra Chakshu. So it has to be seen through Shastra. So that's how they again came to the right conclusions. And Prabhupada also wrote letter how the Mayavada philosophy and true philosophy of Vaishnavism. So they came back again to proper understanding. So then Prabhupada specifically referred to the difficulty facing Iskcon. Purge out of New Vrindavan. Purge out of New Vrindavan, the non-Vrindavan atmosphere that has entered. So the GPCs reading from Prabhupada letters and reading books, they established again that the spiritual master, although not God, should be honored as much as God because he is a confidential servant of God. So that was the whole system, whole scenario. But this poison, this interpretation, they propagated so much so that it went into different countries also. They are minimizing Prabhupada and not following Prabhupada. When Prabhupada went to, I think, Hawaii, there Gaur Sundar Prabhu was there. When Prabhupada himself mentioned, let us establish deities here, start worship, he said, Prabhupada, I will consult and I will let you know. Prabhupada later on mentioned, to whom he will consult? Who is going to consult? I am the authority. And he is saying that he is going to consult. So that's how it became so rampant, that kind of wrong philosophies. So of course Prabhupada then immediately corrected the whole system and established the right philosophy. And though it's very much, satisfying the false ego that I am God, but Prabhupada never accepted that kind of proposal because he knows what is the philosophy. And he knows if the philosophy is tampered, what will happen to the real philosophy. So that is the nature of a real Acharya. He can show the mistakes, he can correct the mistakes, and he can establish the right principles. So that's how that happened, what happened in our society also. People imagine something, interpret in something, and propagate also. But the right actions has to be taken at right time. Proper taken right actions, writing letters in a proper to authorities, establish the authority, and And he wrote letters to all GBCs and taking care of the system, corrected the system in a very apt manner so that the society can go in the right direction, establishing on Vedic principles. So these are all that we can learn. How we also need to follow Parampara. Basically, the whole section is teaching how we should try to follow the authority, follow Guru Parampara. Don't try to concoct. Currently also we are facing many, current scenario also we are facing some situations, how people don't follow Parampara system and establish their own concoctions, interpretations, propagations. So we should be extremely careful that we establish in Parampara so that we are following the Parampara and so that we also can benefit from the teachings of Vedic scriptures and follow in the right way, and also we ourselves benefit and we also propagate, and try to preach right philosophy, right mission so that others also can benefit. Otherwise, what will happen? What will happen otherwise? Deviation. Final result? Hold on, we go to hell and we take others also. Hell is condition. So that's the condition. So we should not become that kind of followers. Better we follow Parampara system rightly established by Prabhupada and rightly following the teachings. Understanding in proper manner. If we don't understand, then we need to consult. As the sannyasis, if some specific insights are coming from inside, they have to be clarified. They have to be, consulted and seen from the scriptures, Shastra, Guru, Sadhu, Shastra. That's why these three things has to be always like checkpoints. Guru, Sadhu and Shastra. Otherwise, anything can happen. So that's what here from teachings of Lord Rishabdev, the descendants of Rishabdev, we are learning from this verse how we should not imagine something, we should not interpret something, we should not propagate something. Rather, we should follow Guru Parampara. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, शिल प्रभुपाद की जय, तागोर प्रेमानंदे, हरि हरि बोल, हरे कृष्ण.